Adam Lehman has been passionately involved with the energy kinesiology and the associated healing arts for over 35 years. As founder and director of the Institute of BioEnergetic Arts and Sciences, Adam has retired from his everyday practice and now focuses on education and training. Amongst his many certifications, Adam was an international advanced trainer and instructor trainer for Applied Physiology for over 20 years. Adam loves teaching and has done that concurrently over his 3 decades as a practitioner. He now develops his own programs, including the Holographic Explorer series, inclusive of Holographic Touch for Health. In 2019, Adam launched the Integrative Wellness Facilitator training, a first in its class, comprehensive, professional, online energy kinesiology training. 2024, Adam launched Understanding Muscle Response Feedback, what they don't teach in workshops. And that's what Adam is speaking on today. So welcome, Adam.
Thank you, Sylvia. So as Sylvia was saying, I created a course called Understanding Muscle Response Feedback with the subtitle of What They Don't Teach in Workshops. And for, as she said, I've been teaching for over 35 years. And for me, I'm very much into and continue to be into the underlying philosophies and deeper meanings of the work we do, and developing those deeper understandings. And in my experience of taking thousands of hours of workshops over many decades, these are the types of things that don't get taught as much, because I think that specialized kinesiology, there are some exceptions. There are some schools around the world that do this. There's really none here in the US. But in the workshop format, it's always kind of a stress for the instructors who, just to get the material done and have time for people to practice. And, so it's all about the how you do energy kinesiology and what I now call muscle response feedback, and not so much about the underlying why. And so what I did with this course is I took all the parts of my courses, and I've also been presenting at international conferences for just as long as I've been teaching, so it's been a long time. And I tend to put these kinds of things into my own workshops and definitely into the talks I give at conferences, but it's all kind of scattered around and it comes up in kind of different ways in different places. So I decided to take all of that and put it into a single course that could be used to benefit pretty much everybody that does energy kinesiology in whatever form they do it in. So the goal is for people who are new, is to help them gain a deeper understanding more quickly. And for people that are experienced, to get an understanding that maybe they had never thought of, considered, or heard before. And it's not unusual when I talk about some of these things in my classes or at conferences, people inevitably, sometimes very experienced people come up to me and say things like, I wish somebody had told me that 17 years ago, because now I understand I understand this better. And then for instructors, it's just good for, it's going to help you be a better instructor to have these kinds of deeper understandings. And the course it's an online course. It's just lectures. There's no demonstrations or anything like that, because, as I said, these are concepts. It's not the how-to, it's the why. And the why is important, because when we have a deeper understanding of why we're doing something, we're going to be more effective at doing it. And the course is split up into 2 parts. The first part is more the underlying philosophy and concepts, models and things like that that simply don't get discussed in classes or and workshops. And part two then gets more into the actual physiological concepts of doing muscle response feedback, which I'm promoting as a new way of talking about what we do rather than saying muscle testing. For all the connotations that the word testing has, it really isn't an accurate term for what we do. And we've spent decades trying to figure out different names and things, and it finally just dawned on me, well, let's just break it down to what it is we're doing. We're using muscles, we're getting a response, which is either it's locked or it's not locked, and that is feedback. So it's the response of the muscle giving us feedback. And so muscle response feedback, or MRF. So I'm promoting that as a new way of talking about what we do. And a lot of the physiological concepts that I talk about in the part two of the course, the idea there is to improve the overall teaching and understanding of how to actually do muscle response feedback. Because as an international instructor for all these decades, I go to places and my classes are filled with people that learned how to do MRF from other people. And in any individual class, those people have learned from several different people. And so I get into this class and everybody's doing it differently. And then people start complaining about how their partners are doing it in the practice sessions. And I end up having to do, all this troubleshooting just to get through the practice sessions. And no, they're pushing too hard. My arm's tired. No, they're not pushing hard enough. I can't feel what they're doing. And, and it's just, and so working on the quality of that. And it got to a point where I was like, there's something missing here. And I feel like I could probably teach this virtually better than 95% of the people are actually learning it live. And that's why I created the IWFT course that Sylvia mentioned that I released just before the pandemic, Integrative Wellness Facilitator training that starts right from square one, how to monitor a muscle. And so part two of understanding MRF gets very much into those concepts and breaking down every single, regardless of what muscle you're actually monitoring, here are the things you need to really look at, and there's 4 of them. There's positioning of a particular limb or body part that you're trying to, that you're going to be checking a muscle for. So there's the positioning, there's where your hands go, and there's looking at something that gets overlooked a lot is looking at the joints, because there's the joint the muscle crosses, and then there's often another joint between where your hand is and where the muscle is. And that, having that joint be locked is a critically important scenario, and that's something that people don't pay that much attention to very often. And then the last thing is probably the most important, because regardless of how you get everything set up, position-wise, joint-wise, where your hands are, then it's how you apply your pressure. And this is where things really kind of fall apart from my observation of doing this for over 3 decades. And in this way, how MRF is taught is a really big deal, because one of the first questions that always comes up when you're first learning how to monitor muscles is, how much pressure do you use, right? And that's the big deal. How much pressure do you use? Well, and I'm no stranger to saying controversial things. And so what it really comes down to is it doesn't matter how much pressure you use. It just doesn't matter. There is something else that's way more critical than that, and that is the quality of the pressure. And the quality of the pressure, there's a one word that basically describes how to apply your pressure in order to get the best possible result. And that word is gradual. The more gradually you apply your pressure, the more opportunity you're giving the muscle, and specifically the spindle cells, to respond to the pressure. And if you go gradually enough, that gives the spindle cells, which are some of the fastest neurology in the body, but they still need time to respond. It gives them the opportunity to feel the pressure and then adjust, send the signals to the spinal cord and the brain so that those things can respond. And if you're doing that right, a locked muscle will not move at all. And it shouldn't move at all. And that makes things so much easier, because if it does move even just a little bit, that's an unlock. And I know that goes against other things a lot of people are taught, that a little bit of movement is okay. But from a neurological point of view, that's not how it works. So that's kind of an important little piece of the course. But the course, like I said, the first part is more underlying philosophies and models and understandings about what we're really doing. And then the second part gets into all those other things I was just mentioning. So it's only 3 hours of material. It's broken up into, I think, 12 or 13 short videos that just break everything down. So it's very easy to take in and then hopefully apply, whether you're practicing or teaching or just wondering what energy kinesiology really is. Does anybody have any questions? A whole lot to tell. The gradual approach. Doesn't matter how long the MRF is. Originally, I was taught the rule of twos, including 2 seconds. Okay, so when you say how long the MRF, in other words, how long do you hold the pressure?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you hold it just as long enough as you need to know whether it's locked or not.
Okay.
But, and sort of the 2 seconds is good. And what you're doing is you're just, and 2 pounds is fine, but 2 pounds doesn't tell you how to apply those 2 pounds. So as long as you're doing it gradually, if you do it too quickly, you're going to get a little bump like that. And then the muscle kind of catches up to it and stops. But we don't know that that's really what's happening, because, there's other, Richard Utt of Applied Physiology came up with this whole scenario of how to monitor muscles through its entire range of motion. And so, and when you do that, you get different responses in different parts of the range of motion. So if the muscle moves even just that little bit and stops, you don't know if it's because it took that long for the spindle cells to catch up, or you've reached another part of the range of motion where now it's okay and it can hold. So you don't, at that point, really know what kind of answer you're getting anymore anyway. I mean, everybody I know who's ever learned how to do this has always had a struggle, particularly in the beginning, when they work with athletes or bodybuilders or their stronger, significant other, or, whatever it is. And they can't tell what kind of response they're getting. And the natural response is to push harder. But, when you have an athlete, when you push harder, that means nothing to them. They have the ability to compensate for that incredibly subtly. So they don't know they're doing it, and you can't tell they're doing it either. But it feels like a locked muscle. But if you go really gradually, the bigger the muscle, or the more fit a person is, the more gradually you should go, because by going gradually, you're actually further isolating that muscle from its synergists. Those synergists, the body just activates them automatically as it feels the need to. I can't emphasize enough that the spindle cell neurology is some of the fastest neurology in the body. And so if you do get movement, it just means you're going faster than the neurology can keep up with. And you don't want to be doing that. And that's really important. So these are the kinds of things that are in this course. And it's, like I said, it's only 3 hours. And the underlying philosophy part, there's all kinds of nuggets in there about that ultimately lead up to how you communicate about energy kinesiology. Another thing that, I've never known anybody that didn't struggle with that at some point. You're learning this kind of new thing, you're all excited about it, you're telling your family and friends, and they're going, okay, so what is it? And you go, well, it's kind of like, you put an arm in a position and you push on it and then you rub, and it's like, what are you talking about? Okay, well, and people don't really understand it. And one of the key misunderstandings there, I'm going to give you another nugget from this course. One of the key misunderstandings, and this is one of the things that I've just had countless numbers of people come to me and say, I wish somebody had told me that, 15 years ago, is that energy kinesiology is not a healing modality. Because, what's the first thing that happens when you start telling somebody about energy kinesiology? When you finally stop, they go, well, so is it like massage? No, it's not like, is it like acupuncture or acupressure? Is it like Reiki? It's not like any of those things. And the reason for that is because all of those things are healing modalities. And energy kinesiology is not a healing modality. It's a communication tool. It's a way of communicating with the body. Once you really embrace that, it makes it so much easier to start to explain to people what it really is. And out of that, one of what we love about it is that it's an integrator of the entire world of the healing arts. And so, aside from giving the body the opportunity to say where its blockages to healing are, it also has the ability to say what it wants to unblock those blockages. And when you get to that part, that's where you have all the healing arts, whether it's neurolymphatic, neurovascular reflexes, acupressure, or any, the entire world of the healing arts is available to us other than what's, licensed and whatever that we can't do because it wouldn't be legal to do. But aside from that, we have this beautiful opportunity to draw from this huge universe of the natural healing arts. And it's awesome. That's what we love about it. So, but those are the types of things that nobody ever tells you in a workshop, unless you took a workshop from me. So that's the kind of things you would learn in this workshop. And so if that's something that you think would be valuable, then I welcome you to join in.
Adam,
Yes.
you just invited everyone, if they wish to join in. How do they do that? Your website details, please.
Well, you won't find much on my website. It's seriously out of date. So what I'm going to do is I am putting a link into the chat. And I admit, let's see, do I have a, now you know what the course is about, so you don't really need a page that tells you what the course is about. But what this page is a special page because it has seriously discounted prices for the course. So if you're interested in the course, you can click on this link, and the course is normally $97 US. With this link, it's $47 US. So roughly half price. And as well, there's a option there. One thing I don't get deeply into the course but that I have spoken about and given talks about and all that other kind of thing is a deeper understanding of the spindle cells. I talk a little bit about it in the course, but there's another like hour and a half or hour to an hour and a half of just the importance of the spindle cells, particularly as it relates to that use of gradual pressure. And you can add that to this course for another $17 US. You'll be getting some really amazing information about all of the underlying workings of muscle response feedback. And the understanding muscle response feedback part is now part of the PDS school, so you'll get 3 credits for that, for the 3 hours of training that's in that. There's also, since the course is run a couple of times now, there is another 4.5 hours of Q&A sessions with people that, you know, had taken the course. So there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. Some of it is completely related to the course, and some of it goes off into some other direction. So it's kind of fun in that way. So there's a lot of material there.
So Adam, thank you so much.
Can I address a comment from Diana?
Sure.
It says the link still shows the normal price. So you clicked on it. What price did it show?
$97.
Really? Try this code. I will. I think this is it. Try putting that into the code and see if that changes things for you.
Okay, thanks, Adam.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for being here, whether it's morning or evening for you, and for your kind attention. Always appreciated. And thank you, Sylvia, for having me on.